An Arizona bill would end Election Day ballot drop-offs. A proposal in the Arizona legislature would stop people from dropping off their mail-in ballots on Election Day. Counties allow voters on the mail-in list, called the Permanent Early Voting List, to also come in on Election Day and drop off their ballots. In November, about 168,000 people did this in Maricopa County. Those ballots took about 2 weeks to count. In response, State Senator Michelle Argenti-Rita, a Republican in Scottsdale, has proposed a bill saying if you get a ballot by mail, you must return the ballot by mail. No voting day drop-offs. Why? She thinks the wait for election results was too long and undermined people's trust in the election. Wow, okay, that's good. That's why people don't have a trust in our election system. It's not because ballots get illegally destroyed. It's not because we don't have a paper trail in a lot of cases. It's not because machines can be easily manipulated. It's not because corruption happens constantly nationwide and people get purged from the polls. People get these provisional ballots that probably aren't going to be counted. It's not because of all that. It's because it takes a long time to count when these mail-in people drop their ballots off in real time. How does that even make sense? How does that argument she's putting forth here even... It doesn't. This is just voter suppression. It makes no sense. Oh, it takes longer to count. That makes zero sense. I mean, the mail-in ballots are going to be there one way or another. So it's going to be there one way or another. Why? It should make little to no difference if you drop it off on Election Day versus just mailing it. And, you know, I'm not familiar with the exact law in Arizona. Maybe it tells us. But in California, the way mail-ins work, and I think this is pretty much unanimous nationwide, this has been the case in every state I lived in, if you do a mail-in ballot, it just has to be postmarked by the deadline. So if Election Day is November 6th, your ballot has to be postmarked on November 6th, for example, which means they don't get it till later anyway. So if you drop it off the same place where people are voting in real time, wouldn't that mean it actually gets there sooner? I mean, unless Arizona has different policy, which I'm curious if the article tells us. Because if Arizona's like California, what she's saying makes no sense whatsoever, and this is just a lie, and this is just voter suppression, which is what it is anyway. She thinks the wait for... All right, so this is a bullshit reason. This makes no sense. There's an expectation that there's going to be a timely response. This doesn't dictate a time period, but it will go a long way to make sure there's a timely result. Rita also proposed requiring people who vote via emergency ballot after 5 p.m. on Friday before Election Day and before 5 p.m. on the Monday before Election Day to sign a sworn affidavit describing the emergency. Voting rights advocates say ending... All right, so this is the response to it. Voting day drop-offs would create an unnecessary barrier. Jocelyn Berry, who's the co-director of Progress Now Arizona, said busy people take advantage of dropping their mail-in ballot. It's just going to make things a lot more difficult for voters. It's going to increase long lines. It's just going to slow down the process even more. Berry's group wants a voters' bill of rights enshrined in the state constitution so voting restrictions could be better contested in court. So here you have another example of government actively working against the people. They're trying to make voting harder for no reason. That's a bullshit argument. It makes it harder to tell. No, how? What's the difference? If someone just drops off a ballot that they have mailed to them, they fill in, they drop it off, versus they just wait in a longer line. Either way, the same votes are at the end, and they all need to be counted at the end. And again, if the mail-in rules are the same in Arizona as they are in California, what she's saying is actually the opposite. Because if you have to postmark it by the Election Day, it's going to take longer to get there anyway. I mean, so what she's saying makes zero sense on multiple levels. I mean, I've never done mail-in, but I know at least at one point that was the case. So unless that's changed, there are many reasons why her argument makes zero sense and why this is nothing more than voter suppression.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together